Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to our Tuesday training times. This is Digital Ministry Support Network. I'm Iki, and next to me is our communications director, Lauren Laxon. What's up, Lauren?
Hey guys.
So today we're actually going to take a little bit of a dive into ECamm. If you're asking or wondering to yourself, what in the world is ECamm and why do I need it? Today is the day for you. We want to run through it. You may not know it, but every time you catch one of our online events, conferences, or even sermons, things that we put out, we're using ECamm, and it is the program that we use, the production program we use to run everything. Hey, Linda, good to see you on. Welcome on, and of course, welcome on to Vegan. Vegan. I hope I said your name right, Pastor. We want to help empower your ministry to take it to the next level. It's really difficult today to have that interpersonal relationship, that immersive experience of the gospel through digital spaces, because it just doesn't allow for that, right? You don't get that same connection. Do you find that to be true, Lauren, as the communications director?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talk all the time about digital ministry and how we can use all of these different platforms to connect, but we need so much training because it's not such a natural thing. It's not so easy to connect as it is in person. So there's a lot of strategies we need to try to put in place to make it happen.
Absolutely. And this is one of the strategic things that you can do as a minister or suggest to your digital team to do to help up your church digital game. We're not going to return to the way it was pre-COVID. Even after COVID passes, because everyone is now steeped into the digital space, it is important that each of us make sure as a minister and as people who are doing the gospel into the world that we use the space correctly. So the strategic tool that we want to give you today is ECamm. ECamm is a web-based software that we use. Basically, it's a production platform to help up your game. You're able to stream through ECamm into Zoom or Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Restream, LinkedIn, I believe. You can almost use it to any platform you want to use it on. But instead of us kind of rambling on, I'm going to let one of the ECamm reps share this with you in his in this little video here. So we'll put him on real quick for you, all right? There's the guy himself.
Did you know with ECamm Live, with a click of a button, you can do this. You can do this. Fancy a scrolling ticker? You can do this. Have a bit of fun and put yourself in a monitor like this. Grab yourself a green screen. And you can do this. And even if you've got a nice setup and don't need a green screen, it's great for sharing your screen and demonstrating like this, or doing a presentation and showing up on scene like this. And our interview is as simple as sharing your link with them and they can join you straight in the interview like this. And this isn't just for Facebook Lives, you can go to multiple platforms at once. You can even run a virtual summit or a virtual conference right from this control panel. Or you don't even need to go live, you can use ECamm purely to record only. Great for you podcasters. ECamm Live is amazing, but don't just take my word for it. Why don't you start your own 14-day trial today?
So that's kind of a look at what ECamm is, and it gives you a summary of how it might work. Few quick things that would help probably as you're thinking about it. It allows you to make schedules of your presentations. So what's really cool about schedules is if you create a scheduled out event and you post it even through ECamm, what it'll do is it'll give you advertisement for viewers. This is one, I'm just showing you one as an example. Tuesday Tea Time, we're going to do in a couple hours, is hosting the Dorsey team here. And I scheduled it out, I believe, Saturday on Sabbath. And so it's been floating around YouTube and on Facebook. So people know, oh, here's an event coming. This is something you can do through ECamm. It also allows you to record locally onto your devices. When you see, yeah, Lawrence, I do too, my man, I do too. Join us. Join us for Tuesday Tea Time, by the way. But when you have watched any of our devotionals that's been coming out from the senior officers, one that Lauren's department does every 2 weeks, Lauren, how often does it come out?
Yeah, twice a month.
Twice a month. Those videos, devotionals, we do through ECamm. Basically, instead of having to record onto a camera device with a memory stick, we plug it straight into ECamm, record it locally so that as soon as it's done, we can pull it out and do whatever we need to do with it. So you don't only have to use it for streaming. You could use it for recording your sermons. You could use it for recording a devotional, so on, so forth. Another feature it has is that it lets you see people's comments. So we're live streaming. You've already seen some of it right now. Some of you have been popping on here and dropping some comments. By the way, thanks for dropping those comments. We love you guys. Keep dropping the comments in here because it's fun. It helps us engage more, right? Talking about an immersive experience. When you're preaching to digital space, you don't know what people are thinking. And as preachers, when we preach, we like some kind of response, an amen, a hallelujah, something, right? So with this particular program, as you're preaching and you're streaming, if somebody wants to, they can tap into amen and you can post it right to the screen so that it creates an experience for everyone watching along. I think that's a pretty cool little feature. Then you can also, amen, Linda, amen, sister. You can also plug in any device. So just a little further down the way here, we're going to show you our devices that we plug in. Preach it, John. That's the word right there. So you can plug in your DSLR camera if you have a nice DSLR camera. You can plug in your phone. You can plug in, this is a Mevo. It's an even older Mevo, but we still do it. You could use a GoPro. You could use almost anything to plug into ECamm and create camera views. Not only that, but you can have as many ports as you can post in. You could have as many angles as that. And then finally, you can use it for interview mode. Now, interview mode is for the pro users, like Lauren. She's a pro user. And a pro user, you just literally have a live feed where someone can come in there and you can present together. So you would, for instance, example, you could use ECamm into Zoom, and then all the participants would come into Zoom, and then you would have an interview with one person coming into ECamm. Now, what would be the major difference between ECamm and Zoom? Because you may be saying, why don't I just have Zoom? It does the trick for me. I can bring everybody in there. They can watch me talk and so on and so forth. So the difference is Zoom is a conferencing app that allows you to do a little bit of producing. ECamm is a production app that allows you to have guests. So it's not really either or. It's more like and both. It's something that you would use for together. It's really helpful. In Zoom, you can bring in 1,000 participants or something like that as an audience, and there they are. But you can't get that immersive experience without something like ECamm that helps you really create an experience for people when they're watching on. You can put all kinds of overlays. Lauren will be taking care of that here in a little bit. She'll show you how to put some overlays and a bunch of other stuff. But that ECamm really helps you take up your ability to communicate that much more in a stream. I know many of you have watched somebody preach at some point during this time. And I know that some of you have been able to say, oh, really? And then you've been able to watch someone else and say, wow, their lighting, their production is so good. Well, this is the program they could quite possibly using. And it's user friendly. So if Zoom was dinner, ECamm would be your plates, your fork, your candles, your music, your ambiance for that dinner. Yeah, you could just have meat and potatoes, but do you want to have an experience of that dining that you've had with that person? We're in the business of not just transferring the gospel, but sharing experience, right? So this is what we're going to do. Lauren, now you've been using ECamm for a little bit, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
How's your experience been with that?
It's really night and day from what I was doing before. So when you talk about that analogy about dinner, I think it's a great analogy because it shows us the experience. So for example, I'll be showing a little bit later, like if I was in Zoom and I wanted to share something, a graphic or something before, I would say, oh, ask the host, let me share my screen and make sure my window is
Yeah.
appropriately sized and everything is all good. But now I can just put up a graphic along with a verse and a logo and kind of size it and change it out and really customize the way that it looks too. So it's just night and day, and it's all included in kind of this atmosphere, I guess you would say. So I'm not trying to go into Zoom and screen share and try to get those
We all know
permissions.
that awkward experience, right?
It's
Where you're like,
it's
hold on, wait a minute. And then and then you spend like 10 minutes trying to explain exactly why it isn't happening or it does. It's awkward.
it's too many steps, and it just takes a lot of time, and all of that attention is on you trying to make it work. But now the attention can be on the content that is being shared. So it's all sort of inclusive in one ecosystem, I guess. It's all in my computer on my side, right?
Yeah.
You'll talk about how it's web based later, but I can just share everything I want from my end without having to really interact with the technicalities of Zoom. And I just have so much more control over the content and how it's shared. That's just kind of the tip of the iceberg.
And remember, as you are communicating in the digital platforms, the viewer's attention span is much shorter than they are in real time. You can preach a 40-minute, 50-minute, hour sermon and get away with it in real life, but in the digital space, you've got people's attention span. So if you don't get it just right, if it's not smooth, people move on from there. This is the problem with Zoom. If like if you got to fiddle around, fiddle and fuddle, people are going to move past. You got to make sure that your stuff is on point. Now, ECamm is not free. You can get a 14-day trial. It's $16 a month for standard. And of course, if you're going to use it for interview and a few more features, it's $32 a month for the pro. I use the pro. I think Lauren uses the pro. We've got friends who maybe just use standard, but it's an excellent, excellent experience. Had that experience the other night with Zoom, yes, and sharing with presentations I was doing yesterday. Awkward, John, exactly. Trust me, but John, you are not alone. We've all had to experience that. We
Oh, yeah.
we all know exactly how that feels. So why should someone get ECamm? Well, there are two reasons I could think of for ministers and for churches. These are the two reasons that I use them for. And of course, I've got a pastor's heart. So this is where it comes from. Number one is producing worship, having multi-camera services. A lot of us don't have money. Some of us are smaller churches. We want to be able to produce something that looks good with good quality, but we don't have big bucks in the bank to make this huge thing. The cool thing about ECamm is that it's affordable enough and it's user-friendly enough. It's simple enough so that you can actually do this and make it look like it. Basically, you can use a Walmart budget and create a Nordstrom feel. Is what we're going for here. The biggest bang for your buck. And this is why you would use it. So I'll show you what it might look like to have multi-cameras and a service. And then the other reason number two, is if you're presenting, if you're a pastor and you like to preach, but you don't want to have to, you want people to have illustrations. You want them to be able to see the verse you're reading, right? Maybe like PowerPoint or Keynote or Pro Presenter. So this feature here in ECamm works. Lauren is going to actually walk us through some of that so you can see how it helps people not just hear the word while you're preaching, but also see it. If you're one of those people who really likes to get your PowerPoint stuff looking sharp and looking good and having transitions, this is also for that case. Right, Lauren?
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely just want to echo your sentiment about this being super user friendly. You just get this program and pick it up, and it really in no time at all, you'll be able to do some awesome stuff with it.
Yeah, first day, trust me, it's plug and play. I feel bad that we're giving away all of our secrets, but that's what we do here. We want to empower everybody. But if your stuff starts looking good, you better start giving props to us here on DMSN, to the communications department, to your pastors who's giving you the goods on the down low. All right. Okay. So what we'll do is I'll start, and I'm gonna Now, usually we want to be able to keep good contact with the lens and stuff, but because I'm going to be moving around and showing you a few things, I'm going to be looking down at my computer a lot more. I'll start by showing you maybe what multi-camera stuff might look like and the reasoning for why it'd be good to have that, okay? So here we go. So this is one camera view. If I'm preaching, I could preach to this, and I could do my thing, and I could put music in the background while this is on. You have a playlist, you can put in your own music, custom music, and as long as it's copywritten, approved, you can play it while you're talking, while you're preaching, while you're recording. But maybe you're a church and you need to have your praise team up. Well, as long as you've got some kind of camera connected, you can have different angles. You can, as many cameras as you like. For instance, this here shooting right now is the Canon EOS T7i. The first camera that I was on, the one that we were looking at before, this one is a Lumix. This is a Lumix 4K G7. That's running there. And then I've got another Lumix, a sister Lumix, that I'll show you in a second. But you can also, this is my phone. You see this? This is my phone. So I can use this for like an aerial angle while I'm talking. You see right here? I could preach to this thing because this camera is really good. Look at how clean that looks.
Yeah.
I could do that. If you need to, you can do your webcam. This is my little webcam on my computer. So you can have as many different angles as you would like to have. Meaning, if you have a 3-camera setup at your church, you don't have to buy expensive cameras. Get 3 phones of your elders, set them up around the place, run them back to your computer, and then you could live stream your worship service, and it would look like that you're doing a phenomenal high production job with just the pieces you already have, including ECamm. Okay, so I'm gonna do this for you. I'm gonna do a mock worship for you. Welcome to church, and we're glad you made it today. We were able to do that. We just dragged and dropped a movie in there, and it starts to welcome, and you're already in your next scene because this is my other Lumix, and I'm shooting a green screen behind me. The green screen, you can then do work inside of ECamm to either mask it, you can make it thicker, you can make it not, but you're in this moment, right? And then you're saying whatever you need to say, and then you can move on to the next scene, which will be transition into maybe the pastor. So let me show you that. So if we transition out, and here we are. Pastor Tommy here, wanting to bring you the word. I'm glad you joined me right here in our living room space as we talk about the gospel of Jesus. You notice how I'm still behind a green screen. It's what happens is I've saved one green screen look on one scene, and the next scene over, I saved a different one so that I could move through this no problem. Now, if I wanted to, I could easily move to a different camera while I'm talking to you. So maybe I'm here, and maybe we're saying something, and then I want to turn to here and say something over here and talk to you into this camera. But all of this happens right inside of ECamm so that it gives you a really smooth, high production feel to your worship service. And this is just one guy. I'm doing this all by myself right here inside of our office studio. So I want you to know that all of this is possible with being able to do it just one person in ECamm. I want to show you all of our cameras. If you want to, you're in a church service, maybe you want to show 2 or 3 angles at the same exact time. Look at this. I'm still in this camera over here. I've got this camera, that camera. I've got my phone down here, and I've got Lauren behind our QR code that I'm going to go ahead and move so that you can do all of this on your one computer with ECamm. I hope this should help you figure that out. You mentioned saved scene. Is this terminology used in ECamm? Well, technically, every scene you create is a saved scene. John, sorry, a scene would be like a slide. If you're looking at what is that, Keynote or not Pro Presenter, the other. What is it? PowerPoint. A scene would be like a slide, right? You start with a blank scene or a blank slide. Then you would add overlays. And I don't want to go too much in that because Lauren's going to touch on that right now. But once you've put stuff into your scene, that scene is automatically saved. So anytime you come back to that scene or slide, it will always look like that until you change it. You noticed one scene I had a brick wall, and then one scene I had a bookshelf. Both of those were on the same camera with the same green screen, but it saved that, it remembered what green screen look I was going for in ECamm for that. Next, I want to give some time for Lauren. Hey, Lauren, can you talk to us about how, if you're a presenter, as pastors, we'd like to put up versus graphs, stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So like we talked about earlier, I've had the experience of sharing in Zoom and trying to share my screen and put up all these different things. But for example, if I'm giving a presentation to you right now, and let's say that I want to make sure I've got my logo here in the corner, right? I can just go ahead and just add that right there. Make sure that that's on the screen the whole time. But if I want to give an illustration, let's say that for a message I was giving, I wanted to share an illustration about really things that we hold on to in our lives that really kind of enslave us. And so I had this illustration about a monkey and how they're trapped by some of those things that they don't want to let go of, right? So I had this picture here, I brought that up. If I want to resize it, I can go ahead and make that bigger. If I'm in a different part of the screen, make it smaller, different things like that. So I'm sharing this illustration, talking about that. I can go ahead and take it off right away when I'm done. If I want to talk about a verse as I'm closing up the message, we're talking about John chapter 17. I can bring my verse right up here, make it big enough for people to read, have different types of fonts and bold and italic, do some of those emphasis types of things. I can also add a different quote. I can change the color of this, the font, and all that stuff. But we can just add it right on the screen as I'm talking. So we don't need to put up a whole different screen just to show the verse. I can add it, overlay it right on top of myself. So those are just some of the basic things that you can do in terms of sharing different illustrations versus you can put it up right on the screen as you're talking. We'll go in a minute and show you kind of how some of the controls look on the back end and how easy that is to do.
Yeah, really cool. All of us pastors and teachers, we weren't taught how to do graphics and graphic design, how to create those kind of artistic assets. If you know how to do that as a minister, that's because you had to learn how to do it. We didn't take a class for that, right? That wasn't like the class we took after philosophy and the Bible. It wasn't just something we do. So how do we have, how can we preach the word, which is our gift, but also create an immersive experience, just like Lauren showed you? It's that simple. You noticed in Lauren's scene, I'm going to just pop back over there for a quick second here. I don't know did you take it off? But there was a logo. Lauren put her logo on the bottom. Yeah. Or you'll notice it on a lot of our scenes. A lot of our scenes has a logo on it. It's not like you had to figure out how to space that correctly in resolution. It's drag and drop. We'll show you how to drag and drop one right now here so that you can get to it. Lauren, we're going to go ahead and share your screen. Is that okay?
Cool.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to pop into Lauren's. This is what Lauren's screen looks like. So she's using ECamm in ECamm. This is me running ECamm, but she's using it in mine, just like you would use it in Zoom or whatever else platform you're using. Boom, you just drop right in there, and this is what a work window looks like. Now, each of us would have a different style. For instance, we probably wouldn't line it up like this. Mine doesn't look like this. Neither does Lauren when she's working on it. But just to help us lay it out so you can see how easy it is, where all the buttons are hanging out at here. In this scene, you'll see Lauren does have a logo. Lauren, can you show us how to put a logo on and off of any particular scene? How easy is that?
So I'll take off you saw me just take off what I had. So if I wanted to add a different logo, let's say I had a white logo there. Let's say I wanted to add a blue logo. So I just have my files here on the desktop. You can use any sort of file storage that you have and just drag and drop. So overlays is where I have some of the graphics and text, whatever I want to overlay, right, on my video. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop. We've got layers here. So I'm going to go ahead and put it right here at the back. Let me put it at the very end. And then I just drop in that blue logo. And then this is kind of big. It's kind of covering my face, right? So I'm just going to make that a little bit smaller. Let's say that we don't want that all the time. Let's say I make it maybe about this big. It's easy to do. And then we've got some grid lines here, some guides. So I'll just put it right here in the corner, and those blue lines pop up. And it might be kind of light on the screen, but there's some framing grids there that just show me where it's evenly spaced in the corner. And then I can just drop that there and leave it there for as long as I'd like.
You see that? People have been asking me for weeks and months now, how was I able to do all this and like the genius of how everything looks. Now you know just how dumb I am, because it's that simple to make your stuff look that much better. Now, if you look at Lauren's screen here, just her picture, this is what I see when I'm looking at my working screen. You'll notice at the very bottom, there's a blue square that says record. That's because she has it set to live record. So she can record her talk or her presentation right from that. But if she moves to the bottom left or bottom right of her screen there, you'll notice it's where it says record only. She can click on that, and then that will open up options like Facebook or Periscope, Restream if you have that, and that will allow her to live stream into those places. So if you're a church and you're about to do your live stream, that you would switch that to wherever you want to stream to. If you're wondering, can we simulcast? Can we cast to 2 different places? Yes, but at this point you're going to need to use something like Restream that will split your signal out so that you can have it onto multiple different platforms. On her right side, on our right side, or maybe, yes, up there, you'll see some icons. Those icons are her working icons. The very top one there is a T. That's how you layer your stuff. So you'll be able to add graphics. You'll be able to add an extra video. Can you just hit the video there, Lauren, and add an extra picture into your... So if she clicks that, look at that. Already it uses a different camera. And then she can pick which camera. She can make it a circle like mine. That's how I move mine. See, if I move my picture, I'll move it over here, and I'm over here. But she used that option to layer on right there. Excellent. So if you have a full size graph, maybe you've got a dragon or Babylon, or you've got some dates, you can use the whole slide, and then you would put yourself in just a small little corner of that. So you notice that she puts that right there.
Sorry.
Yep. Below that is the sound. So the sound coming in, if she clicked that icon, it would allow you to play with the sound. What different audio devices are bringing it in? You could bring it in through your computer. You could bring it in through a mic. I'm using a NTG2. That mic is a boom mic so that it's out of the frame. You could use one of those cool podcast mics. All of those are available. Under there is what looks to be like a magic wand. I know as Adventists, we don't believe in magic, but this little button here deserves a little bit of magic love. Because if you click that button, that's where you can change green screen. You can center people's picture. So when someone calls in for an interview, maybe they're out of frame, or they're dark, or they're too bright. You can use that to fix all of that. So when you go live, the picture looks good. See, Lauren's actually using it right now to move the focus around, to move the box. All of that happens right in ECamm. Underneath that is the music icon. That music icon allows you to tap into your library of music, songs, sound effects like an applause, or maybe a DJ horn, maybe an applause. Nobody else is saying amen to your sermon. You just give yourself an applause. It's all there and available for you. Underneath that is the comments. So comments are really good because that's when you can see people commenting. And of course, you can show their comment right on the screen. Then under that is the interview live button where you would bring people into interview. And that's basically the ECamm layout and how it works. So what we can do here at the end is I kind of want to, oh, I think one of my cameras died. So let me,
Black.
but don't worry, I've got 1,000 cameras here. So I'll just add
That's
another one.
right.
There we go.
Just do a quick little switch, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And just like that, you're seeing me in another camera. Okay, we're actually out of time, but I do want to kind of go over the pros and cons for this a little bit, Lauren. And I've got a pretty decent list here, so pop in wherever you'd like. Pros for me: your broadcast ability and production is upgraded to look very professional for a minute price. It's very user-friendly. If you're somebody who's not really tech savvy, this is going to strum your heartstrings. You're not going to be able to get it right away, but you will learn it. It's not very hard. It doesn't take long to get used to. It's web-based, so you don't have to store the program in your computer or something else. It's all web-based, so it's from the cloud back down. It has strong support community. If you have any problems, the support community jumps in really and helps you out. And you can correct a lot of your video and audio needs right inside of the program. So when somebody calls in and they are hopelessly not looking good, sound is bad, you can tweak it around and it would upgrade that. Any pros for you, Lauren?
Yeah, I think definitely, as you mentioned, the user-friendly aspect of it. And for me, what's really a pro is that it's just all inclusive. Like, you don't have to download 5 different programs. You don't have to try to get all this gear. It's just all inclusive. And sometimes when things can do multiple tasks, the quality of each task goes down. Being specialized usually leads to higher quality. But with this one, that hasn't been the case. It can do so many things, and it doesn't sacrifice quality in doing so.
Yeah, and could you imagine having to specialize in each one of the things that this program actually does for you? So it's an uptick. Now, for the cons, I've got a few cons. Number one, obviously, you have to pay. There are some programs out there that are free, but obviously you're going to get what you paid for. So you have to be aware of that. The other con is it's one extra step for getting online. Obviously, you can always just jump into Zoom and go. Or you can jump into Facebook Live and go, or YouTube Live and go. But this is one extra step. You're going to have to open up your ECamm and then go through your ECamm. A very worthy step for me personally, but if you're the kind of person like, I just can't do one more thing, it's just too much. I'd rather sacrifice on quality than on accessibility for myself. Then this might be a much for you. Another con is it's only for Mac users. So this doesn't run on PC. So if you're a PC user and you're watching this, go ahead and hang up now. This wasn't worth any of your time. I apologize. But if you're a Mac user and you have a Mac and there's not very many good programs anyways for streaming for Mac, this is the best one possible. And then the last con for me is you cannot correct a lot of your video audio needs right inside of the program. Oh no, sorry. You don't have a preview window where you can do edits before bringing it live while you're streaming. So Lauren and I, for instance, are live right now. Say the next scene I'm looking at, I wanted to add something onto there. I can't add it onto there until it goes live. And at that point, it's kind of awkward to, mess around resizing stuff. You got to do it beforehand. You can't do it on the fly. They are working on that, and that's going to be a feature, I think, in the next update or so. But until then, you got to make sure your stuff is ready in the right size. Any cons for you, Lauren?
I think, like you mentioned, one of the big ones for me is, not for me personally, I use Mac products, but I think for a lot of people, that's a big one. The fact that it can't run on the different operating systems, the fact that it's Mac only, and the fact that you have to pay. Those are some of the ones that I think would be primary when talking to different people about this.
Yeah, definitely. So that was basically ECamm. I know we didn't dive super deep, but we wanted to introduce you to it so that you know if you've ever been wondering, whoa, how are they doing their production so nicely? This is how we do it. And we wanted you to get familiar with it in case you wanted to use it. Obviously, if you have questions about this, drop them in right now because we can post it up. Go for it. Give us a question. Test it. Do it. I see you. Go ahead. If you don't have a question right now, you can always email it to us and we'll be able to help field those questions for you. Linda, I'm sorry. I don't think Salazar is going to fire anyone if they don't get this, but your game will go up if you use this, and it'll probably give you a less likely chance of getting fired. I don't know. Just making that up. Yeah, and so that's ECamm. That's ECamm for you. Awesome, John. If you need any tips at all along the way, feel free to reach out to us, and we're going to do a follow-up to this one later on with a little bit more in-depth. We're going to look at all of the features and actually use it so that you can see how it works, okay? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to post into the description how you can get it. So if you haven't already gone to pick it up, feel free to go over and grab it now. That'll be in the description for you. And I don't know, Lauren, please, as we close out, anything else you want to share?
Definitely one thing that when it comes to all these new different programs and platforms, one thing that I would just encourage all you guys watching is just don't let kind of like a lack of familiarity with these programs deter you. Definitely just get started, right? So if you feel like, I really feel like I need a production program and I use Mac and ECamm really has the features I need, maybe I'll get it when I can have somebody to help me run it, or maybe I'll get it when this or when that. I would just definitely encourage you, if this is something that you think might be able to help you, try the 14-day trial and just see if it works. Don't let maybe being intimidated by the program stop you, but give it a try. You'll get better as you go. And as you kind of get your hands wet in working on this and going forward with it day by day, you'll get better at it. So the best way is just doing it, practicing each day, and you'll get better before you know it.
Absolutely. I've dropped in a couple links down there. The first one is my link. I'm an affiliate for ECamm because I love them so much. I just started using them. Feel free to use that. Feel free not to use that. ECamm's direct site is the one underneath it. I don't think I get any extra perks. I mean, I think they give me discount on like my stuff that I already use. But please, you don't have to use that link. I leave it because I'm an affiliate. Feel free to use the ECamm one straight to them and pick it up. There's a 14-day, like Lauren said, a 14-day free trial. So try it out, see if you like it. And if you don't, get rid of it. And if you just notice that your game just shot up 2 Sabbaths in a row, then keep using it. But we just want to be able to empower you to do what you do at the highest level you can do it at, especially during this time. That's all we got for you today. Right, Lauren? Or is there something else that I'm missing?
That's it. I mean, definitely leave comments. Any specific questions you guys have where you're like, hey, I think I saw that feature on your screen, but you didn't talk a lot about it. Definitely leave a comment and we'll be happy to go into that in a future live stream.
Great question. Linda had one question as we close out. She says, does the church just need one account? Yeah, you only need one account. I think you can put them on up to 5 devices. I'm not 100% sure, but I think you can put them up to 5 devices. And so just one account will be more than enough for what you're doing. You shouldn't need to have one for each user. Yeah. All right. That's it, my friends. Thanks for joining us today. We hope that you have an awesome rest of your week and hope that your game was upped because you got to catch this. Bye.
See you guys.